Hey guys, so this is, this little section right here is just a disclaimer, real quick. First off, this video will kind of be showcasing a new kind of editing that I'm trying to get onto. You might remember, you might remember that not that long ago, if you care, that I recently did, I guess you could say, a collaboration with a friend of mine who's also on YouTube, Google Man, and he suggested that I use something called SHAREfactory to start editing my videos, put more art quality into my stuff. But yeah, that's the first disclaimer. Another disclaimer here is that this is going to be my usual kind of content. Normally I do like gameplay and stuff like that, but today I'm going to actually be sharing a story, more so an experience that happened just recently with someone who's actually part of a regular group of people that I play with online. And it's a frustrating experience that I feel like I need to talk about it and get other people's thoughts on the situation. So, you'll be seeing different gameplay footage here and there as I'm talking, possibly the games that are related to to what part of the situation that happened last night that I am referring to. Or last night as of, the day of this recording. But yeah, so you'll be seeing different games here. I'm just doing the Kingdom Hearts footage here just for the little disclaimer to show that this is very experimental. This video is going to be very experimental. In the case of I'm trying it out, seeing how it goes. If it doesn't really fit me, then I might just go back to the usual unedited stuff that I did in the past. But if you guys like this, like the new editing that you're going to be seeing here in the video today, let me know. And if it tends to be something to your, and if it's something that's to your liking, again, let me know. Comments, and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you guys can actually see when I upload. I haven't really been pushing for that subscription for that whole hit the bell thing, but considering the numbers that I have and the lack of people that come to upload, I mean my schedule, my erratic upload schedule, well, it isn't doing me any favors there, but that's beside the point. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. If you like it, great, I'll keep doing it. If you don't, I'll go back to the unedited style that, in my opinion, is kind of long-winded, but whatever. And, with all that being said, I think that's everything. So, I might as well just get into the story that is essentially my experience with what I would consider a toxic player in my circle of friends on PlayStation. How's it going, guys? I'm the Key of Shadow, and welcome back to the Realm of Darkness that is my content, and, as you can see, yeah, we're starting off with, Xenoverse 2 footage, but today I'm not going to be doing anything like my typical, gameplay kind of thing. In fact, you might even notice that I turned the volume on a lot of things in the game here way the fuck down, just so you can hear my voice a bit better, because today I've got a story for you guys. This is basically just a story detailing, my experience with a couple of people that are in my circle of friends on PlayStation that I play with on nearly a daily basis online that left a bad taste in my mouth. In my opinion, it was a very toxic experience. And for the sake of keeping names out of things, when I address them, I'm going to address them by the name of the character that they, their created character that they use the most in Xenoverse. Except for the case in the one that I actually had the issue with the night prior to this recording, because the character that he uses the most is well, his real name. So in his case, I will use the name of the character that he uses the second most. So the names you'll be hearing me to address them are Icarus, Ice, and Ike. And if you guys are watching this and are going to come at me later saying, "Hey, why'd you bitch out and use different names, or why'd you make this video or whatever?" I'm just doing it to get out my experience and basically blow off some steam, because it was an experience that I could have lived without. Especially in the case of Icarus, because he's normally one of the more level-headed people in the group when shit goes down. So, anyways, I'll start with the issues that I have had with the player Ice, who I've been having issues with for the longest. In fact, most of the people in our little group have had issues with him. Mostly consisting of either him somehow miraculously, okay, a little context here. Occasionally, me and this group of friends will do this thing where he do 2v2s, 3v3s, or endless battles, or whatever, where we basically push the triangle button for random characters up to about 5 times. And we just pick whatever random character was selected for us. Now, in the case of Ice, well, occasionally, yes, he did get bad characters. More often than not, he would end up getting characters that he was either incredibly familiar with, or were characters that were very high up on the Xenoverse tier list. Now, I know you're gonna say, well, Xenoverse tier list doesn't really matter because of how the game is built, blah, 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 blah. I get that. But he ends up taking the fact that there are characters that are inherently better to his advantage. Now, everyone here has accused him, or everyone in my little group has accused him of cheating and just picking the characters because he wants to win. He doesn't like losing. And I can kind of understand the whole not liking to lose thing, because I don't know anyone who likes to lose. I mean, unless you're some kind of masochist or something. But in his case, I doubt it. I doubt that he would actually want to lose. But I'm getting off track here. So basically, when that happens and he is called out for it, for supposedly cheating at the rules that he had set, he gets defensive and starts claiming that no, he didn't cheat. And I get this kind of petty in the grand scheme of things in the game. I mean, these aren't ranked or anything. These don't affect any leaderboards or anything of that matter. It just makes the experience a lot less fun, and not just for me, but for almost everyone in the group. Another thing is that somehow the netcode in the game, which is already pretty bad, more often than not seems to work in his favor, and that's not something I'm blaming him for. But if you're going to have a fight like that, and you even admit that, yeah, there's something shady going on here with how he's able to pull this off, and he acknowledges it, but he's still going to count that as his win and him being superior in the fight. That's pretty much the majority of what I have to deal with. I mean, I could deal with other things like his hypocrisy, his lying, but to be honest, I've kind of learned to get past that, because we played with him for a period of time. I mean, out of everyone in the group, I've played with him the least, and even then, I've kind of learned to adapt to his crap factor. So I won't get into too much detail there. What I will get into is the other player. Ike, he doesn't really have too many problems aside from maybe occasionally defending who I'm about to talk to right now for his behavior, but I can kind of just chalk that up to them being a few years younger. I mean, I'm at the recording of this video, I'm about 20, and they're a few years younger than me. They're still in school. I won't sit here and say that these are grown adults who are acting like this. No, but I will say that in the case of Icarus, who I'm about to talk about, who claims that he has a level head, who's able to see past the bullshit and all this stuff, and occasionally he would actually make some decent points. It's just disappointing how someone who is possibly one of the more level-headed members of the group, who just ends up falling into the same habits as Ice. So this is a situation that. So last night is a situation that triggered me thinking that maybe Icarus isn't exactly up to par like what he thinks he is. Like maybe he's not exactly the most level-headed, or maybe he doesn't exactly have the most sense. But let me explain this. So as I mentioned before when talking about I almost said the name. We're talking about Ice. Like I said, with him, for some reason, netcode would often crap out and end up working in his favor. Generally giving him either a lot of damage, letting him avoid hits, back out of combos, and just generally have an advantage that's unfair. Now, whenever this happens, Icarus, he will point out the bullshit, get upset about it, like rage about it, and then tell the opponent, whether it be Ice, whether it be anyone really, tell them to fix their internet, even if it's something that's out of their control, and even when their connection and like their connection that is shown on the matchmaking lobby or whatever you would call it, the room before the match, where it shows the connection and shows whether it's good or bad. Despite that, he will complain and say that whoever is experiencing the shitty netcode, or whoever is the receiver of it, needs to fix their internet. And you know what? That's a fair thing to say. You know, if you're winning or losing because of something that's kind of wrong with the connectivity of the game, then I can understand why you would say fix your internet, even if the internet connection is just fine. It's just the netcode of the game itself. But then when the shitty netcode, when the bullshit works in his favor, when it works in Icarus's favor, not only will he not acknowledge it, like he won't, like he'll act like there's nothing going on and he's winning, and he's just winning because he's good at the game or whatever. But he'll also continue to call his opponents, whether it be me or someone else who is losing because of the bullshit, he will proceed to call them trash. Now, I call this hypocrisy because how are you going to claim that when you're losing because of crappy netcode and such, that not only is the person who's winning because of it need to fix their internet, but you are not at fault. Like your skill isn't taken into effect, which I can understand why I would think that your skill isn't taken into effect with netcode. And to be fair, yeah, that is true. When netcode shit is going on, you can't really say that hey, I could just skill my way through this. Like if the netcode is physically making it to where you can't skill or finesse your way through whatever situation you're in, then yeah, you would have a right to complain. Yet when he's the one winning because of it, not only will he not acknowledge the fact that the netcode isn't working properly, but he'll claim that he is winning because he's simply the better fighter between him and his opponent, and he will insult and berate his opponent, calling them trash, and even finish them off in disrespectful ways. Well, disrespectful in the eyes of the Xenoverse community and the people who play it. And this is something that's actually been going on for a while, but last night, as of the time of this recording, the netcode problems were especially bad. Like, you could physically see lag, and in the case of Icarus's fights, he actually did have pretty bad internet going on for most of that session. For a good, like, hour and a half or so, he kept having to reset his connection in order to just be able to properly play the game and not have a laggy-ass match. But even after his internet had gotten fixed up, the netcode was so bad, and there was a significant amount of lag that in the end it ended up being pointless, and he would end up either winning or losing depending on the basically a dice roll of who did the netcode like more. For about an hour or so of our session, it was my team. Like, we were doing 2v2s, we were doing randoms, and it was my team that was getting, and it was kind of my team that was getting the advantage in terms of the shitty netcode. I mean, I was kind of getting a lot of hits, but overall my team was doing just fine. But then the fishy stuff started happening. First off, like I said, when we do randoms, we essentially just push the random button 5 times, and whatever character we get, we're kind of stuck with that character. We're stuck with whoever the thing lands on. So, alright, that seems fair, and it was actually Icarus who came up with this rule. But then I started noticing that as the session went on, and after Icarus and Ike's team kept losing a bit, they were on a different team. I was on a team with Gooberman. I started to notice that in the case of Icarus, he would be consistently getting either characters that were really good or characters that he was very familiar with. Not that even mattered, because on the rare occasion that he did get a crap character from the game, like a Guldo or Raditz or something, for some reason he would end up landing hits and just backing out of combos that he should have been able to. First off, when you're getting comboed in this game, if you don't have stamina, you cannot escape the combo. You have stun animations, and that's what keeps you locked in a combo. But for some reason, even when he was getting mid-comboed, he was able to back out of it. He was able to land back hits that he shouldn't have been able to land. Somehow my back hits were missing, even though the game acknowledges that they were a hit with the sound effect and the visual effect. But no damage was done. He didn't flinch. He was just able to back out of it. And it's just... sorry, I'm kind of doing this off the fly here. But, and he just... And he was playing as if he was playing it as if there was nothing going on. Like, he would continue to call me trash because I was the opponent that he would typically pick in that night, because before he suddenly started getting his advantage, I was the one that was kind of putting him down quite a few times. Yeah, he would continue to call me trash and basically insult me for being bad at the game, despite the fact that not only am I getting characters that I am unfamiliar with, or characters that are just straight up bad, but I am also being the victim of someone who has the netcode in their favor, and I'm essentially being berated for lack of skill, despite the fact that, well, skill isn't even a factor in this case, because the netcode is so bad, I can't even really say that he's genuinely good in these fights, because... Again, he's somehow getting characters that... I'm just realizing after saying it, earlier in the video I said that our friend Ice, whenever he would do randoms, he would... this is also an issue that he would have, where not only would the netcode somehow work in his favor to where stamina breaks and such just don't land, and he's able to back out of combos, but when doing randoms, he would consistently get characters that he is either very familiar with or characters that are just really good in the game in general. I mean, hell, in the case of Icarus, at one point, he actually got his CAC out of a random. Like, I get it, there is a chance that you are able to get your CAC out of a random, but the chances of that are significantly low, especially considering the number of characters that are in the game. To be fair, his character that he had at the time, which was funny enough, Icarus, the character that I'm deciding to refer to him as to keep his actual name out of things. And he claims that he's not good with Frieza races, but honestly, with how he plays them, and especially when the netcode is fucking up, you'd think that he's lying about that. But anyways, it looks very suspicious when he's consistently getting characters that he's either very familiar with or characters that are just plain good in the game already without any semblance of effort needed. I'm getting off topic, but after a few matches of this happening, about an hour of this happening, I get off the game, like I physically leave the game, and I decide to message him because his mic was broken. How did I know he was talking smack? Because not only did I have him on the phone because his mic was broken, but when I hung up the phone because I was getting tired of hearing the smack talk and I just wanted to focus on the fight at hand, every time he would get one of these wins, he would message in the PlayStation Messenger something insulting or anything of that nature. And so I confronted him about this, and I essentially said that if he's going to point out when the netcode isn't working in his favor, when it's working in his opponent's favor, how it isn't fair, and he'll claim that his opponent needs to fix their internet and because he is losing. And yet, when the netcode is in his favor and he is winning as a result of that, he wants to call all his opponent trash and bad at the game because he's losing, he must be trash, even though a loss is a result of the crappy netcode. I told him if he could justify and convince me that he is in the right for saying his opponent is trash when they are losing to crappy netcode, yet when he is losing to crappy netcode, he's still perfectly fine. He's still an incredible player at the game. I told him if he could convince me of that I would concede. I would give him the argument. He would win, and that would be the end of that. Instead, he continued to belittle me by saying, "You mad?" and claiming that I'm being immature when I'm being calm about the situation, and I'm trying to give him the ability to defend himself. I'm trying to give him basically I'm basically trying to give him a place to stand on and say, "Okay, you're right. You proved me wrong." I'm essentially wanting him to prove me wrong because, well, like I said, he's usually one of the more level-headed people in the group. So, of course I want him to be able to prove me wrong in an argument with an actual sound argument rather than just resorting to insults or things of that nature. But like I said, instead, he would just continue to insult and belittle me and continue to call me trash, even though I am trying to give him a platform to defend himself. And here we come to the problem that I have with Ike. Now, as I said earlier, I don't really have any issues with Ike. The only time I really have an issue with him is when he's defending the behavior of either Ice or Icarus. He was essentially defending the behavior of Icarus by claiming that I was acting immature, or I was acting like, well, their age, which that says a lot about them, and that I was not acting like the adult that I should be acting like. When in reality, I'm coming at this in a very mature manner, and I'm, again, trying to give him a leg to stand on in order to try and, well, prove me wrong, or at least convince me that this isn't how he actually thinks, and it's just the hype of the game, or he's just not realizing that the netcode is that bad, and he's misunderstanding. But no, instead, I'm left with the situation of being insulted, being called immature, and just all around, they're not really helping their case here. If anything, they're helping my case and giving my argument more validity. In fact, the moment that I presented him with the argument of prove me wrong, and he just said, "You mad," and like essentially saying that I am only claiming these things because I'm upset that I kept losing, which I will admit, I was a bit salty about losing, but I was more so upset about the fact that I was losing via shitty netcode, and he was passing it off as if that crappy netcode was him and his skill. So, like I said, instead they just gave me more of a leg to stand on in the argument. And that's essentially how the conversation ended. And after they kept claiming that I was acting immature and I was just butthurt, I just kind of stopped talking. I didn't message back, and instead I would end up venting to a couple friends. One of them is actually Skylar, who hasn't appeared on the channel in a while, and actually kind of, I'll get into that later. Of course, in his case, because as I was talking about Xenoverse, and his experience with Xenoverse wasn't exactly very good. He just claimed that the situation was a result of Xenoverse 2 being a bad game, which I won't lie. The state that the game is in right now isn't good, and the fact that they're holding off a very big and important update just for the sake of DLC it's a bit shitty, but whatever. Then I talked to another friend of mine who I actually mentioned on the channel way back when I still used to have like Windows Movie Maker and shit like that, and I would do like these slideshow style videos. Matt, who was part of a Kingdom Hearts theory I did ages back. And he was actually looking at the situation and from the lens of the situation that is happening rather than the game that it took place in. And he was able to see, I mean, I'm not going to get to that, but to genuinely see that, well, yes, they were acting immature, they were acting like, well, idiots, and they were just going about it, and they were just going about the situation in a way that did not make them look good. And then I said to Matt while I was talking to him that when the update comes out and Icarus starts losing constantly because there's a chance that many of his victories come from the shitty netcode. If that ends up being a case and he just ends up complaining like the netcode didn't get fixed, they didn't do shit, if anything it's worse now, blah 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 blah, I'm just going to end up laughing about that because a lot of people will be able to tell, like, when the netcode is fixed, and if it does get fixed, people will talk about it. People in the community will talk about it, whether it be bigger YouTubers or just other people that play the game on a regular basis will know that, yeah, it is better, and he's talking about how it's worse because he can't win or he keeps losing for reasons that he deems bullshit because he's possibly so used to having his crutch of the random netcode giving him favor. Yeah, I will genuinely laugh and I'll call him out. And if he ends up not talking to me anymore or not playing any games with me anymore as a result of that, and by extension that ends up cutting out who I typically play online with, I won't care because I've essentially already won the argument as it is, and if that situation does come to rise, I will not be sympathetic. I will not. If anything, I'll just I don't know. There's another situation I had with Icarus, but that was in a different game, so I'll have to talk about that. But yeah, so that was basically my toxic experience with him in Xenoverse. Now I want to talk about my experience with him in GTA Online.
Listen, this is
GTA Online. Now this story won't be as long as the Xenoverse 2 story, mainly because there really isn't that much for me to talk about when it comes to Icarus here in this game. Yes, I'll still be referring to him as Icarus, yes, I'll still be referring to him as his Xenoverse character, mainly because, well, names in GTA don't really seem to matter, so I'm just going to continue referring to him as the same name, just to keep things simple. So my only issue that I had with Icarus in GTA Online was essentially him kind of caring a bit too much about something called a KD. Now, apparently what KD is, or kill-death ratio, is apparently a stat that's in the game that, for whatever reason, it keeps track of how many times you've killed and how many times you've died in the game. And he says that he cared so much about this stat for whatever reason because he didn't want to look like trash in the game. Now, I'm not sure about you, but when I go in to play GTA, whether it be online or the story mode, well, okay, maybe not story mode, but when I go in to play online, I don't care about being considered the best or being considered good at the game or anything like that. I just go in because I want to play GTA, and the reason I want to play it is because of its sandbox nature and the fact that you have the liberty and freedom to do, well, a lot of things. And it also helps that, I don't know, if you're someone like me and you have a lot of aggression built up during the day or during your week, it's a good stress reliever. Except when I'm playing with Icarus. Now, like I said, this only happened one time. Well, maybe not one time, but he didn't bring up the situation of the kill-death ratio until just the other night, actually. So because I'm bored, because we're just running around, I decide, you know what? I'm just gonna pop one in the back of his head. I'm gonna, just get one kill off on him while he's distracted, and get a couple laughs. And the moment that happens, he ends up taking things seriously. Like, at first it was just him wanting to get his kill back, which, I can understand that. You want to make things even and all. But then it got to the point where he kept killing me over and over. It was eventually, at first it just started with him having 5 kills on me. I believe it was that number. And I'd said, okay, I want things to be evened out, especially considering he's a higher level than me who has access to much better weapons. I would very much like to, even things out. But would he allow that? Nope. Because of this precious kill-death ratio that he wanted to keep, he ended up making things a lot more difficult than they needed to be. Now, when I just wanted to even things out with, like, him having 5 kills on me, I had like 5 on him, or him having 5 more kills on me than I had on him, and I wanted to even things out, that would have been one thing. But eventually got to the point that he kept making things go on and on, to the point where he had 30, 40 plus kills on me, and because of this precious little stat and him wanting to look like he's good at the game, that we ended up getting to the point where I'm just like, I don't care about this anymore. Or I'm just gonna get off. I have to go to bed for work in the morning. Which, to be fair, I did have to go to work that morning, but that's not really the reason why I decided to get off the game. Well, it was one reason, but the main reason was I was just sick of the bullshit. Now, again, I don't really understand the reason why you would have a ranked system. Like, I can understand the level system in GTA Online. You can't have everyone have everything at once and just start blowing shit up. But what I can't understand is why you'd have a rank system for things like who can kill the number of players more times than the other. And it just doesn't make sense to me, especially considering the people who just randomly kill other players online are kind of considered toxic in the community anyways. Much like the guy in the footage here. But yeah, I don't get it. And it just makes things even more confusing when if a similar situation happens in another game, which I won't talk about it in this video. I might make a whole separate video to talk about that because I have a lot to talk about there. But if a similar situation happens in another game where, or let's say, hey, we're playing Playgrounds in Fortnite, let's say that, and he's not ready, and neither of us are ready for a little showdown thing or whatever, and we decide, okay, let's keep things fair and let's give each other our kills back. which we do. We do give each other our kills back. We do even things out. But in the case of when it happens to him, like when he gets killed, when he kills someone else, I'm still talking about Icarus, by the way. When Icarus gets a kill on someone when they're not ready, and they're like, okay, I want my kills back, so because again they weren't ready and it was just playgrounds, and we want to keep things even. Instead of doing what everyone else does and simply comply with the request and just let us have things be even again, he will try to force you to earn that kill. Now, you could say, well, maybe he wants his opponent to get better at the game or something like that, which you would have a leg to stand on if it was anything. If either A, the player cared about ranking and didn't just want to play the game like a game and just have fun, not caring about ranks or anything like that. Or say you're in a completely non-ranked situation where we have special rules set, well, not rules that we can set in the game itself, but rules that are set by us, the players.
Don't.
It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't really make sense why you wouldn't follow the rules that you yourself had set. Because it wasn't just anyone that came up with these rules on the spot. It wasn't just anyone that came up with this idea of keep things fair until everyone is ready. Okay? I believe that kind of mindset for our group at least was coined from Icarus. So, and again, even in GTA Online, when someone kills him when he's not ready, when he's distracted by something else, he will demand to get his kills back. He will demand for things to get evened out. And yet when the reverse happens, he's so adamant about keeping his precious KD kill death ratio, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that he will make you fight tooth and nail. And he even claims that he was trying to teach me to be better at the game when when everyone in the group knew that wasn't the case. Or at least I knew that wasn't the case. He just didn't want me to lower his precious fucking stat because he's petty and wants... I'll have to talk about that whole ranking system thing in another video, but essentially, it just makes the games not fun. It makes the game, makes the game, when I'm playing with that group, it just makes it not fun because he'll say something about one situation, and yet he'll completely contradict himself when the situation is in the reverse, where he's in the wrong, but he doesn't want to admit it. So, yeah. That's essentially the situation. I wanted to get it off my chest, and... Again, if my circle of friends decides to watch this video and start to berate me, hey, give me shit, anything of that nature, note, I have not given your real names. I have not given your gamer tags or your PSN names, whatever you want to call them. I have not given any information that will have you easily identifiable online. I use names that are just names of your Xenoverse characters, which, honestly, it's very possible that other players name their characters the very same things. I have kept your identities well hidden, and the only ones that will know who I am talking about are other people who know about the circle of friends, like possibly Guru Man if he decides to watch this video. Yeah, that's everything. That's everything I need to get off my chest. That's essentially my toxic experience with these people. Mainly 2 out of the 3 people that I typically play games with. I would talk about my experience with them in Dead by Daylight, but honestly, I think I'd rather talk about Dead by Daylight in its own separate video. If you guys are watching this far, thank you guys so much. I know this is kind of a longer video, especially with the added bonus of the new editing. But again, I want to thank you guys for watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell, please, because yeah, if I want to get anywhere on this, I'm gonna need you guys' support. And with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.